This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I am on location, San Diego. We are talking to Blake. You're going to hear about WUNUP. That is spelled W-U-N-U-P. We're going to talk about the gamification. We're going to talk about peer-to-peer. We're going to talk about starting up a new company post-COVID, post-Silicon Valley Bank, post-URSA, launching in 30 days. Blake, tell us why you went on this entrepreneurial venture and where we're going with it.
Thanks, Pete. Appreciate you having me. So right now, we're in the development stage. We're about a month out, and really the genesis of this came from always wanting to improve processes. From a very early age, I was always interested in either commercials and understanding why I enjoyed it or why it could be better. And I think that really translated into where at school I wanted to learn more about processes and the analysis of different projects. And so I got involved in data science. And I thought that being able to understand and be in the mud, I guess, of understanding why things work, how they work, was very valuable. And that took me to Nike, where I was working as a data analyst and putting together, basically from the ground up, putting together different data structures, understanding the governance levels of it. But overall...
Tell me what that means.
Yeah, so basically we would oversee the customer and vendor location on a global scale, and we would make sure that all of that data was relevant, it was consistent, it was trusted, and understanding a lot of those protocols in between, but also it allowed me to work with, architectures and engineers and a lot of different people. And but it still wasn't where I wanted to be, and I was using that as a segue into ultimately creating my own company and being able to tell the story of athletes. And so that got me to a senior director position within the global operations team, where I was really able to oversee all of the global communications coming in and out. And it was a challenge for me because as I was going through this and I was understanding kind of how we were helping on a global scale, I was also trying to make sure that I was, being fit and I was keeping myself healthy as well. So one way we would do it is accountability. And it was through friends doing, different challenges, and basically we would just be using using Venmo. And I was gifted an Apple Watch, and I was doing these challenges, and it was getting pretty late at night, thinking, really competing for Chick-fil-A and bragging rights at this point. Like, is there anything else out there? And there really wasn't. And so from that point, we really just kind of started.
So how many years did you work at Nike?
2.
2 years?
Yep.
So I worked in investment banking for 3 years before going back to business school, and I feel like I basically got an education at my first job. So how important was the Nike culture, the DNA, the competitiveness, the fact that you're, kind of on the pulse of big ideas and big things, and they're not afraid of innovation?
Yeah.
How did that kind of help you, or maybe give you even more confidence to say, okay, I spent 2 years here, I kind of been a sponge. I see how things work.
Yep.
So maybe talk about that, because I think some entrepreneurs come out and they just shoot right into entrepreneurship, and it's take a little time and figure out how other people do things, and that might be a way for you to not hit the the third rail.
Yeah, no, 100%. Basically, what Nike allowed me to see at a young age was that there's 2 types of companies. There's companies where people come motivated to work, and there's companies where you have to motivate your employees. And I knew from day one that was not the company that I wanted to start. And so the one that I wanted was people are fired up, people are engaged, and to be able to work alongside people from various different backgrounds. That was another piece too that I learned, that Nike doesn't necessarily hire people that have a Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour background. They're from Disney, they're from Starbucks, they're from Nordstrom, because they have these vast objective backgrounds that are able to create a better product that's ultimately better for people. Right. So that was the first part. And then the second part was understanding what it looks like at the highest level, what excellence looks like, what execution looks like, and then being able to parlay that into an industry that doesn't necessarily exist. I think the biggest thing that I've learned at this point was honestly, you just kind of have to start. But that doesn't mean jump in right away and put all your savings into one basket. That means start to look at a market, start to ask people questions. Don't be too scared to, follow into what you actually want to do. And I think through that was something that while I was with Nike, I was able to, have a paying job and then also pursue this on the side. But I had no idea how, find a development company. I had no idea how to find marketing, put together a campaign. And now at this point, I've really crossed a lot of those different hurdles. But at the same time, though they were hurdles, they were challenges in my perspective. And like you said earlier, it's tuition. It's just learning from the past. So,
right.
yeah.
When you take a look at, describe exactly what WUNUP is going to do. That's in beta right now, by the way, for our listeners. And then I want to talk about a couple of nuances on how it could be potentially applied.
Yeah. So WUNUP is a connected fitness company that specializes within gamification. And what makes us different from anybody else out there is that we actually allow users to wager with your own money as a reward versus filling up your rings or, being the leader on a scoreboard or something like that. So, and I can go into how it works or...
Yeah, give us another layer of the three of us decide we want to, place a fitness bet. Tell you, me, and Noah.
Yep. So basically how that's going to work is that after you've onboarded, it's going to link up to your Apple Health. So that means anything that links into Apple Health, not just your watch, Strava, a lot of these other devices.
Yep.
And then from that point, you'll go into and create a Stripe account. And you'll be able to transfer money from your bank account into the WUNUP account through Stripe. And after you finish those two things to actually create the challenge, you would simply go in, you would click the activity. So it's going to be run, walk, cycling, swimming, or just an other, meaning calories. The next one is, what is the duration? Is it going to be starting right now for the next 15 minutes? Or is this something that's going to be going on for the next month because we know that we're going to try and keep each other accountable because maybe somebody has a wedding coming up or they're trying to lose weight for the summer. And then the third piece is you're going to put in the actual wager. Is it $15? Is it $30? And then finally, the fourth one is who's all going to be invited to it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say the three of us, you in on this bet, by the way? You said yes. All right, so we're gonna bet $15 and what's the task?
Yeah, so the premise would be, all right, let's say for the next 2 days, who can hit 1,000 calories for each day faster?
Each day? Okay.
Yep.
You in? You in?
Yeah.
All right, I'm in.
All right.
Okay, so we're all spending $15. So now, before the bet is like solidified, $45 is going into the WUNUP account, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's going to sit up there.
Yep.
And does it have a timer that says this is when the task is closed, or this is when the event ends, or this is when the challenge ends?
There's a timer when it begins and when it ends.
Okay, timer when it begins and ends.
Yep.
And then it's automatically pulling from each of our Apple devices in this instance based on the data point that it is asked to track. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're able to API into that?
Yep.
It's like open. You don't have to pay for that, or you do?
No, that one's open with our developers. Yep.
Got it. Okay. So at that point, everything ends. It says Noah did 2,100 calories. I did 2,010, and you did 2,300. So you'd win. And then when would the money show up in your account? And what does it show up in? Your Stripe account? It shows up in your WUNUP account.
It shows up in your WUNUP account right afterwards.
So people aren't going to cash that out all the time because why not? Because I'm a gambling fiend and I want to challenge people. And I don't want to challenge you like how many shots of tequila can you do? I'd rather challenge you on my strength. And that's where probably things are going in the future anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, as I keep money up in that account, what are you allowed to do with that money? Are you basically like a bank?
Yeah, so when it's sitting in your wallet, right now it'll just be sitting there. But in the future, we have plans to allow users to do more things with it instead of just leave it in their account. But the other option is that you'd be able to actually take it from your WUNUP account and transfer it into your physical bank account.
And then you would get like Venmo, you charge like a 2% download fee or instant transfer fee?
Yep, we're working those things out right now to see if that's the best way to go.
So you're basically gonna build a consumer brand.
Yep.
With WUNUP. Mm-hmm. Do you envision? There are already challenges going on right now. So you heard of Cycle for Survival?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Okay, so obviously it's charity, raised over $250 million for rare cancer research. 100% of proceeds go. I could see people saying, "Hey, I'll bet you for another $100, like let's see how many miles you ride, and we'll just donate all of it to charity." But I'll just kind of like re-ante up on the charity event.
Yep.
But in those cases, you're gonna have to partner up with established competitions that are already going on, which probably would be probably an easier entry point than creating just a consumer brand and hoping that the three of us kind of find it. Like, let's say the three of us were doing a Spartan race, okay?
Yeah.
And you had a partnership with Spartan that says, "Hey, I want to promote WUNUP, and we're gonna do like side, gamification and bets. Some of that goes to charity." Do you think that you're gonna have an issue with people thinking like, "Yo, there's enough gambling going on," or is there a slant to say like 10% of everything that we do here automatically goes to charity, and maybe that's a way to kind of like muzzle? Is that the right term?
Yeah. So
I want to see what's a nice term for muzzling people, allaying their concerns, leapfrogging their discontent.
So
what would you say? Give me something good. Dude.
Yeah,
You went to Crichton, dude. You got a good vocabulary.
So I would say right off of the bat that it's a distinction and there is a negative connotation towards it. And there could be if you don't understand a ton about it. And that's completely like the skills, the skills gaming and the skills world is definitely newer. So the difference between what we're doing and what gambling is that there's three versions. So there's prize, consideration, and chance. And if all three of those are met, it's considered gambling. What we do is we take out the chance because the only way that you can put money into the challenge is if you are the one that's physically doing the work. So an example would be if a professional athlete has a better game based off of, salary bonus, there's no difference of what we're doing and what that is. It's just a reward.
Explain that to me again.
So
the chance has been taken out of the equation because why isn't there a chance that one of the three of us win?
Because it's based off of skill and preparation and work ethic instead of I'm going to put money on you versus somebody else I'm not actually in the event.
So if we bet,
the
three of us, we basically have to bet on ourselves.
That's
I can't
exactly
bet
it.
on you.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And
what if we got other people that was hanging around, be like, "Dude, I'm not doing that bet, but I'll put $100 on Blake."
Then that would be considered
considered gambling.
Yep. But there are ways that you can still engage with people that are not in the challenge, but without actually putting up money, and that's.
What if 100% of that guy's proceeds went to a donation? Is that considered gambling? And does that take away? It's gambling. It's like there used to be this thing called bowling for dollars. Do you ever watch this on Channel 9, WOR? Saturday mornings at like 10 a.m.
Okay.
And it would just be bowling for $4, and they would, I think they would give everything to charity. So they were gambling. It was based on skill.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just wondering how I could get as many people like in on this bet. I don't know if I told you this during COVID. I was thinking we could do. There's no gambling. There's nothing going on. I was thinking about like the delivery Olympics. So you'd be able to bet on your delivery guy how quickly he got to your house. But then I think there might be a safety issue with that. If some guy got sideswiped, he'd be like, "It's going too fast. I was trying to win my bet as the jockey." So as you think about all the nuances of this, what gives you the validation? Are you and your buddies do this a lot? A lot of your friends do it. Is there like fraternity rivalries that could be like fostered through this? Because basically like anything you want to bet on.
Yeah.
That's based on your skill. We want to play backgammon. I'll bet $5 instead of me taking $5. I'd be like, dude, just put on WUNUP.
Yeah. So
is that the idea?
So there are things, and I mean, you could say with my own world and friends and family that do it, but the reality is that it's much bigger because you have Apple that has 7-day challenges. You have Strava that has group challenges. You have, people when you're playing pickleball or you are already engaging in some of these workouts that people are saying, let's do this, let's put money on it. And it's not necessarily in a negative way. It's just to make things more fun.
Right. Well, look, I think a lot of people are motivated. Like, look, there's some of my friends, like, if they're not gambling, like, they're not interested,
Gotcha.
If they don't have a fantasy player on the team, they don't care, So I get the mentality.
And what we want
of it.
Yeah. And I think what we want to do is we just want to be able to say, here's the platform, and we want to democratize it to everybody else. So an example of skill is of 1v1 or group challenges. If it's a group challenge, it'll really come down to 3 different versions of how you want to be able to divvy out the money. And so being able to allow people to just say like, okay, here's my friends, here's my own cash, here's my own time, and I'm going to be able to create this however I want. And then from there, you're actually gaining or you're losing cash based off of how it works out. But we're starting. The health and wellness industry is definitely one that has a lot of promise, and we've talked to a lot of different people inside the industry and feel that this is the best place to start with it. But really want to open it up to anybody who is interested in getting into
it seems like
competition.
In the Halo sector, I would say that the competitions that are already going on right now is probably like your first mover advantage, because I think that anybody that is already going to a 5K obstacle course race, Spartan race, ninja, whatever, that to me, I wonder why can't it be a gambling site? Why can't I say I'm going to pick that guy? It could be like, wait, what do they do in Vegas right now? Do they have like American Ninja Warrior as an example? Is there a betting thing on? Do they bet on those people? I'm assuming they do, don't they?
Yeah, there's betting for pretty much everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm basically taking the idea of betting to a localized market with only the participants that are inside. Bet, and hopefully, what it's going to do, it's going to motivate people to complete whatever the task is, even if they don't win. At least they're going to give it their all, which in turn is going to have them burn more calories, lose more weight, maybe donate some of that money, and everyone wins because I actually put in effort. Yeah. So,
and the way that you just described is the user experience that currently exists, but how you get there is you have to have an Apple Watch, then you have to use Venmo, then you have to find the time to do it with us. Exactly. We're really breaking all of that down, and we're allowing people to just say, okay, so we're going to consolidate everything into one place, and we're not going to say it's a 7-day challenge. You create a different type of challenge, and now you can do it off of steps, you can do it off of distance, you can do it off of time. So it's just it's definitely in the early stages of where it's going to go, but that's where the thought process is now, and just to make sure that we give the most frictionless and easy user experience possible.
All right, so you're going to be launching. Give us a date so we can get this podcast out, like in time for the launch. When is that going to be?
Yeah, so as you know, with development, it can be a little bit here and there, but the target date right now is April 18th. But you can go on the website, www.wunup.app, and sign up for the wait list now, and we'll notify you right away when it's ready to go.
Awesome. So, in closing here, you got any quotes or, this is like your first entrepreneurial venture. How do you feel it's going? What are things that frustrate you, and what are some things of advice that you would give to people that maybe are just starting a startup, in an entrepreneurial venture today? That maybe you've learned quickly, on the job.
Yeah. I think the main thing, and I heard it from a friend, and it was, it's going to be the loneliest journey of your life. And that can be true, but the reality is you just have to keep going, and you just can't quit. And that, I think, is the piece that I've mastered at this point. Not mastered, but really that I've been able to just rely on, is that no matter kind of what happens, you just kind of keep going forward. Yep. And to go off of that, you have to fall in love with the process and not the solution. Because if you fall in love with the process, it's never going to feel like failure. It's just going to feel like there was a tough day or there was a challenge, but you were able to learn from it. And at the end of the day, all of this is just a hypothesis and an experiment to see if it works.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that, because I use that term. That if you're doing a startup, you're doing an experiment.
Yeah.
And it is a science project, and it's an art project at the same time.
100%.
And you gotta make sure it drives at the time when the market actually wants to buy or look at it. So
yeah.
Well, look, man, we love your energy. We love the outside the box thinking. I need to think through a couple more of the nuances to the program, but I think if you can embed yourself into competitions that are already happening on large scale, that would in turn allow you to create a brand or partnerships where people say, yeah, I'll hook this up. Why wouldn't I? Or like if there's even if there's I want you to think about one thing. If there's a donation component that is mandatory as part of this, and you went to Spartan Race or you went to a 5K or hard rack, marathon, and you said to them, look, 10% of all the proceeds of this goes to there, I think they probably plug you in and say, do you want to, donate to charity and have another, bet with your friends to da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
That to me, if you say that, they'll probably do it. If not, I think they'll probably say, like, am I basically enabling more peer-to-peer gambling?
Mm-hmm.
But if I donate something, it kind of like takes away any negativity to it. But
no, and
that's just my thinking on the matter.
And that's dead on. And just real quick, that was kind of how this started as a company. I don't know if you're familiar with Able Games at all.
I'm not.
So it's what CrossFit works with any like adaptive athletes and puts on a competition. And basically they reached out to us and they said, hey, we love what you're doing. We want to be able to create this. How do we do this?
Yeah.
And so you're right on exactly we would love to partner up with whoever is interested in this and make something work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll use the term halo as you
Yes.
roll around the industry. We'll get this podcast up right when you hit the market, and let's think strategically about who you partner up with first, because that is going to be, it's like coming out of the gates. Like, you coming out strong or you're coming out like, we got a couple of these small accounts. You say to somebody after you launch, yeah, dude, we did this event, we did this hard rock thing, we did this thing with Lifetime, and we did this thing with Spartan Race, like, bam, like, one, you're going to learn a ton about shit like this. We got to tweak a couple things because people are using it a little differently than what we anticipated.
Yep.
And also you get like this brand equity of like, this industry works off of who are your past successes, and I'll jump in because I can reference check that, and then it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Without a huge sales cycle. So, welcome to the industry. Thanks for coming, and look forward to seeing you at future events, bro.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff.